Good day, Sir Blasphemy here for Sir Blasphemy's Travels. I hope you guys are doing well out there, and I hope you're having the days you deserve. All right, guys, so I've got another video here for you. Not much action going on, but as we know, coming up is will be at least the next fair for me is the Texas Renaissance Festival 2025. So I'll be there. And just before I continue with this video, just a reminder, as I've done in other videos, I will have a new booth. I'll be in the same location, but in a new location. Basically the same area, Florence Market in Texas Renaissance Festival. If you're looking for me, instead of being directly behind the Herod, whatever those guys are going to kill me. I should know the name of their meat hall by now. But the Herod meat hall, the big meat hall there in Florence Market, next to the Rose Pavilion and the Knights Brewery and all that stuff. I'm not going to be directly behind them. I'm actually going to be in front of them, booth F8. Again, I'll say it again, booth F8, in front of that Herod meat station, or Haran, or Herat, whatever it's called. And right next to where they do like the 360 video picture thing. I don't know what the name of that business is. But anyway, so that's just a quick reminder. All right, so make sure you come out and see me. Anyway, so we're going to move on here. So what makes a great Renaissance fair worker? And just kind of to add on here, what you can do as a vendor to even, make sure that you can find a great Renaissance fair worker. So I'll start off with, on the vendor side of things, I think the best thing you can do is always vet. There is a lot of ways that you can find out, and this is what most vendors do at Renaissance fairs, is basically they talk to other places, they see the other workers, they get to know those workers. That's how most of these hirings happen, is basically working around them when those workers are working for somebody else. And then those workers are either not needed the next season, or they haven't been hired or been known that they can be kept for the next season, and kind of other vendors will swoop in and grab those good workers. But if you're not there and you're like a first-time vendor, I mean, the best thing you can do is get on some of the forums like RennyList, like on Facebook. There's quite a few you could choose from. You can do a quick search and you'll be able to find it. But like RennyList is a great one. But you can go on there and you can talk to some of other vendors and get some advice about certain people. Even attending Renaissance fairs, if you happen to get to know people just by attending it, and then you become a vendor and you go there and you can talk to some of those employees, and you can kind of, snipe them and get them, pick them up for yourself and use them for your business if you're a first-time vendor. So, I mean, it's all about the vetting. I mean, the first thing you could do is, if you're just doing it cold, is, find out and see if you can get good recommendations from some of the boards, or from other vendors, or even from the fair itself, which is a rarity. They usually probably won't have that information for you, but you can always ask. It doesn't hurt. And then, call around like we would as any other employers. Call around if they've worked other Renaissance fairs. And see, at least do like 3 checks if you can, and see if they're good, what their faults are, what their pluses are, and things like that, and see if that's something you can live with. Now, I've done that in the past. There's a video that I have that I made a long time ago that some of you guys have seen, that where in my very early days of Renaissance fairs, there was a guy that took me to the cleaners, and I vetted him and did all that stuff, and people just said, oh, he talks a lot, but he's a good kid, he's a good worker, or whatever. And he was horrible. He was the worst worker I've ever had. He was terrible. And so, he was a thief. He was, he got blackballed from other fairs. I later came to find out. So again, you could even place calls to other fairs and say, hey, has this gentleman worked there? And make sure, I wish I would have done it, and make sure with that fair, hey, this guy hasn't been thrown out of this fair or had any kind of disciplinary stuff at that fair. Even if he gets a good review from someone he worked for, to you, with someone he worked for at that said fair. So that's a little snippet. I just wanted to throw that out there and kind of pile this on in this video. But this video is mainly going to be about you as an employee. What makes you a great Renaissance fair worker at a Renaissance fair? Now, I think the big misconception is you're going there and it's one great big party. And to some sense, it is. It's a party before and after. There's no questioning that at Renaissance fairs, when the work is done, before and after. And sometimes there's a party without getting smashed, during too. I'm a guy that likes, when I hire somebody, I don't like people, when I used to work for people, I couldn't stand people that stood over the top of me and do this, do that, didn't have a sense of humor and were always rigid and hard and blah 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 blah. They didn't have my respect. I just thought they were dicks. And so I don't lead that way. So I'm very lenient, but I also won't let you get away with too much. And before I kind of have to be a jerk myself. So, you know, I think that when you go into a Renaissance fair, if you're just as a worker, you're thinking, wow, this is like relaxed, laid back. And it is, by the way. It's probably one of the funnest jobs you'll ever have. But the key to remember is it's still a job. You're there, people are drinking and having fun around you, the patrons and things like that, and you're having these wild conversations and you're doing these silly acts and things like that. But in the end, the ultimate goal is to make money there. That is the goal of the person you're working for. So therefore, you have to do a job to make them money. I see time and time again, fair after fair that I've been to, you know, there's great workers, and then you'll see the ones that just hang out. And they'll hang out just to talk, and they'll hang out to, you know, hit on the pretty girls, or the girls will hit on the good looking guys, or whatever, you know, however that goes, whatever your taste is, you know, I've seen that. Or they just like to stand around and talk, and then they'll, oh, hey, you know, come over here and see us. And then they'll run to a booth and they'll go talk to somebody, and don't be that person. It's okay to do that. I don't mind my workers doing that when I've had them, but in the end, it's if you're doing it all day, then you're not really there for me, and I'm paying you to basically essentially socialize anyway, but I'm paying you now to not only socialize, but to not work and socialize, but be associated with my business and the fair. So if you want to be a great Renaissance fair worker, understand that yes, it is a party atmosphere. It is a relaxed atmosphere. It is a very, very zen kind of atmosphere, but it's still a business. So go there, produce, do your thing, be rigid, get your stuff done. Hey, if your boss lets you go out and walk around and kind of, you know, do some things or whatever, great. If you know, that's the way that is, wonderful. That's awesome. And, you know, but just, you know, save the good times for before and after, you know, the fair, during the week. And then, you know, after work, you know, go do those fun things that all the vendors and the workers get together and do. Save it for those times and concentrate on your job during the course of the day. Be prepared to stand all day, or you're going to be ready to work all day. So get yourself some Dr. Scholl's, do some things, because you're also wearing probably uncomfortable garb, depending on the season. Make sure you have seasonal garb. If it's going to be 95 degrees and 80% humidity out there, you're probably going to want to wear something light, guy or girl. You know, what kind of a dress or what kind of an outfit, whatever. You're going to want to wear something you know you're going to sweat through, right? You don't be like me. I wear sometimes, but then again, I've been in heat my whole life, so it doesn't affect me that much. And I've owned landscaping businesses, so I've worked out in the heat and sweated from top to bottom. Heat doesn't affect me as hard as it affects some people. I'm just used to it. It doesn't bother me that much. But I wear like long sleeves, and I have 3 shirts on sometimes in 80% humidity, and it's like 90 degrees out. So don't exactly follow my lead in it. This year, by the way, I do have a different outfit for the cooler days. I finally buckled down and got me another one for cooler days. So you guys will see that if you see me out at TRF this season. But, you know, definitely be prepared for that. Be prepared, like I said, for standing on your feet for a while. Do things that, you know, make a life a little easier on your feet and your lower back and things of that nature. So be prepared for that. It doesn't matter how old or young you get, we all get tired. Or how old or young you are, we all get tired at the end of the day. So, you know, you just think about it. Depending on when, you know, your particular booth or place of work at a Renaissance fair, you know, calls you in, depending on when you're going to be there, chances are you're going to be there 12 to 14 hours, probably over a course of a day, you know, depending on what you do. So be prepared for that. 2 days in a row, you know. So you basically, in most cases, you're almost working a 40-hour week sometimes in 2 days. So, you know, be prepared for those little things. So, you know, and if you can, interaction is key. I am the worst person in the world to tell you this, but watch your language. I am horrible about it. I've always been horrible about it my whole life in places. So I offer that advice, but it's advice that I sometimes screw up myself, you know. keep your language. Remember, there's kids around, there's stuff like that, and you just have to be kind of wary. Don't let your jokes and the way, you call people into the booth, because usually you gotta hawk. That's another key. You gotta be always hawking all the time. And for those of you that may not know what hawking is, it's basically you're standing out in front of a booth or wherever you're working, and you're calling people in. You're telling jokes to people walking by. You're shouting out to them. You're, waving them down. Hey, come over here, take a look at this. And you're, everybody has their own style. So that's what you're doing. But, it's, you don't want to be standing there just like any workplace with a terrible attitude going, yeah, come on in. Yeah, we got that. You don't want to be that way. It's a Renaissance fair. Call out, be excited, be overzealous, and you're going to do that all day. The throat gets worn out. And, that makes a good employee, someone that can bring people in. I hear it all the time from vendors. Man, that guy, I hired that guy because he could just hawk so good. He yells, or she yells, or she's always interacting with people, or he's always doing this, or she went over there and I was watching her work for so-and-so last year, and she would walk out in the crowds. And hawking a vendor will love you if you can hawk, if you can go out there and interact with people, and do it in a good playful way. There's a lot of hawkers that can kind of get away with the mini insults, where you're not really towing a line, but you can do like a little insult hawking through comedy. Some people can't, so you have to be careful of that if that's the way you hawk. So just be mindful of things like that. You don't want to say a joke that you're totally joking to the wrong person. It happens to at least every vendor once in their career, where they'll say something goofy, meaning for it to be a joke, and somebody gets upset. So, be wary of those things. So stuff like that. So, definitely being energetic, being comfortable, being honest. So, yeah, if you're going there and you think you can, oh, this is more laid back and I don't have to, when the boss goes away, I don't have to work as hard, and, maybe I'll steal a little money, or I'll take a few out of the tip jar when he's not looking. Trust me, you'll get caught. Eventually, you're going to get caught. It's going to happen. We have systems now that, most systems now that you ring up people, we can find out if you've ripped us off, inventory, things like that. We can match inventory. We can do things. And also, other vendors talk to other vendors. That's how you get blackballed from doing this thing. Trust me, it is a big community, and a lot of us know each other. And we're always asking, hey, is that guy any good? Is that girl any good? Are they good? Always those conversations are happening. And trust me, you don't want to be, if you want to do rent fairs, you don't want to be on the back end of someone that you maybe, stole $10 from one time, or stole inventory from, and then you're trying to work somewhere else and you have that reputation. It's bad news. It's not good. But, and you know what? And always be the type of person, just like anywhere at any job. When you show up in the morning, I see it all the time. I see 9 times out of 10, most of the employees out at Renaissance Fairs are excited to be there every Saturday and Sunday, even if they drank the night before and are a little hungover, something like that. But they're there and they're present. And I've seen some that will just complain and oh man, yesterday was hard, man. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do it. We all say that when we're there. We all have our woes and aches and pains and complain a little bit. But if you're dragging that in all day and that's all you talk about to other vendors and other employees, that gets around. People don't want to hire you. And that also usually means that you'll get replaced if that kind of stuff continues, along with the other stuff I've mentioned. So, and trust me, Renaissance Fairs, it's easy to replace people. There's always somebody standing in line waiting to take your job there if you're doing it, because it is such a fun job to do, and it's days go by quick, and because you don't really realize you're working. So that's some of the things that I can tell you. It's just like any job anywhere, but the difference is it's not stuffy. You're not in a suit and tie. You're not having to, I've always got to be on the move all the time. I'm sure there's some bosses out there at Renaissance Fairs that, you got to constantly be doing something. That, I'm sorry that if you work for somebody like that, that sucks. Or they're just keeping you busy for the sake of keeping you busy. I think that's garbage. I don't care if somebody stands around. Hey, it's great if you stand around, as long as you're always interacting with the people, trying to draw them into my business. They're not all going to come in, but as long as you're trying, it's all good. And then, hey, when it's slow and you got to rest your feet, it's okay to sit down. I'm like that. most workplaces aren't like that. It's not. You're at a Renaissance fair where it's good times and it's relaxing, and you want to fit in with that vibe, but you also want to know that you're doing a job. So yeah, I mean, that are some of the things that make up a great Renaissance fair worker, and just I mean, the attitude and things you can bring that are distinctly you. Like for instance, there's a guy that I always see him at TRF, and he watches my videos, by the way. What's up, bro? And but he works for the Feisty Fox, and he's worked for some of the scribers at TRF. He's a great dude. He plays a guitar. That guy is probably has the most amazing energy, and he plays guitar and he interacts with kids and people, and he's so good that like people like literally try to fight to get him because he's a good worker and he draws good business in for you. No matter what you do, he's just great at it, and he always has a great attitude, and he's always in a good mood, and he's always giving his best to you. And it's like, and again, no one stands over him to tell him to do anything. He just does it, and you just let him be him. And that's kind of what you can be at a Renaissance fair. You be you, but just remember, it's still a business, and we're there to make money, and we're paying you. And even though it looks like a party and you want to be a part of it, you want to, I get it. I totally get it. If I could leave my vendor booth and party all day with everybody, I would do it. But I can't. I'm there to make money. I've got to do that. And so you just got to make sure you focus on that and understand that. It's just like any job. Even though when you get there, especially if you're new to fairs, when it'll become overwhelming at first, you'll want to do things, and you'll meet people, and you'll have friends there, or whatever the case may be. And you're going to want to do things. And most bosses will let you go out and journey for an hour or something like that. Or if it's a little slow, go ahead, it's fine. Go out and hang out, come back here at this time. Most are like that. But, just remember, don't go slamming drinks down. Time and time again, this happens. I get it. I'm guilty as anybody. I'll have a sip of something while I'm there during the day. But I don't pound them down all day long. I'm not doing it all day long. Because usually somebody will buy me a beer, or they'll bring me a drink, because I know a lot of the people that run that. So again, you just be responsible with it. If you're an employee to somebody, don't drink anything or do anything like that, man. Because I've seen that a bunch of times, and it's a one-way ticket to bye-bye. I mean, I've seen it over and over again. People get, good people get canned because they were drinking. So yeah, don't do that. It's just like it's a job, man. Come on. I don't need to tell you guys these things. But anyway, and overall, I mean, I think what makes a great employee is all about presence, right? It's all about presence. It's who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you can do for yourself and my business. And essentially, the more I make, the more you make, right? And then hopefully one day you can take those values, and one day you have your own booth or your own setup, whether that's at a fair or at a business, out in the streets, whatever, doing whatever, that's that. But you can take that and apply that and use that experience to do good things and make more money for yourself and for the people you work for. So anyway, I know this is a rinky-dink kind of a video, but it was some of the things I was thinking about. I just see questions online about stuff, and then I go, I'll answer those questions on a YouTube video. So I hope you guys are getting fired up. It's about a month away till the Texas Renaissance Festival. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. And like always, guys, please take a moment here to like, subscribe, and tickle that bell for future notifications. And don't forget to comment. I always comment back 100% of the time. So I really greatly appreciate that. It helps to grow my channel. And one day I'd like to be monetized and make a few coins off of doing this. So I've been doing this a long time, and I would like to eventually get there. So thanks for your help in that. Anyway, so that's it. Nothing fancy here, guys. Just a kind of another boring video, how-to kind of video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And coming up very soon, we're going to have scenes from the road, and then I'll be at TRF, and the barrage of my videos will come. I got some new interesting ideas this year for videos for TRF, so I'm going to do some new things, and hopefully you guys will enjoy them and be able to watch them. So, all right, that's it, guys. All right, we'll be seeing you guys soon out there, and I hope you guys are going to do well and have a wonderful season. And if you're not a vendor, I hope you guys have a wonderful season at all the fairs you're going to around the country. So, all right, appreciate it, guys. Until next time, Sir Blasphemy, out.